Ordinary session shall be convened at the National Assembly in Yaoundé tomorrow, March 11, 2022, and with the country burning with pressing issues that need immediate attention for solutions, a lot is expected from this March session by Cameroonians. In this regard, Colette Loom, our center regional correspondent, caught up with some Yaoundé-based politicians who expressed their expectations in this March session of the lower parliament. Her report.
The National Assembly shall convene in an ordinary session on Friday, March. Each year, the National Assembly holds 3 ordinary sessions, each lasting not more than 30 days in March, June, and November, and the extraordinary sessions shall wind up as soon as the agenda for which it was convened is exhausted. However, the National Assembly may, in accordance with the Constitution, meet in extraordinary session for not more than 15 days on a specific agenda at the request of the President of the Republic or of 1/3 of its members. Speaking to some politicians in the nation's capital in a bid to know their expectations during this ordinary session at the National Assembly.
This ordinary session, like in other ordinary sessions, there have been a lot of expectation to discuss the fate of political prisoners that we have in Cameroon and organize a sincere and genuine dialogue. This issue of the Anglophone crisis, for the sake of those that are dying. In respect to the finance law, we have seen how the mayor in most of the 2 English-speaking regions are crying, asking for this finance law to be put in place, for the budget to be realized, because at this particular moment, most of the budgets that this was allocated in this area in place in 2019, and so far it is not being operational. It should release that budget, because from 2029 to 2019 to 2022 is a problem. Is to tell the administration as well that, or to tell the population that what actually they discuss in the session is not being put in place.
The country plagued with lots of burning issues that needs to be resolved with immediate attention. It is against this backdrop that this session will be a tough one.
The first expectation is the Anglophone crisis that we've been singing and will keep singing. They should revisit the 1961 Constitution and discuss about the form of state to bring a lasting solution to this Anglophone problem. The grievances of the teachers form the bedrock in the society, and if they are not well catered for, we saw the thing that happened in Douala the other day. Students took to the streets, and that's a bad sign. And not to forget our citizens in Ukraine, because of the war there, we have been seeing terrible videos online, how they are suffering. I think the parliament should talk on how to bring back these students.
Worth noting, the National Assembly is constitutionally vested with several functions. Prominent among them are lawmaking, representation, oversight, and a host of others.
The President of the Republic of Cameroon, His Excellency Paul Biya, has instructed the urgent implementation of financial and administrative measures in response to teachers' demands. Joy Ngong digs deep into the correspondence signed late last night. Her report.
After having instructed the disbursement of 2.7 billion francs CFA for the payment of arrears due to teachers mobilized for the marking of official examinations organized by the Cameroon Baccalaureate Board for the June 2020 and 2021 sessions, the President of the Republic, in another correspondence addressed to various sectorial ministers, instructs for the immediate implementation of financial and administrative measures in order to respond to the demands made by teachers. On the financial level, President Paul Biya has instructed the Ministry of Finance to proceed with the payment of monthly salary supplements to teachers from March this year. This concerns those teachers who still receive 2/3 of their salaries and the non-housing allowances. The President equally requests the Finance Minister to progressively take into account salary supplements and non-housing allowances due to teachers according to the anteriority of batches. In a similar way, Paul Biya requests the Finance Ministry to proceed with the payment of allowances relating to advancement and the reclassification education of teachers from the month of June. On the administrative level, the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform must systemize the compilation of teacher integration files before the end of their training. Minforpra must equally ensure the systematic deposit in the regional delegations or central services of its ministerial department of the integration files of the graduates of ENS and NSET. The head of state equally urges Joseph Lee to immediately deal with the integration files already identified within his ministerial department and also take stock of those still pending at the education ministries. Finally, Paul Biya requests the Minister of Public Service not only to dematerialize the procedures for processing integration files, but also to simplify them. The teachers, however, seem not very satisfied or appeased with these measures, as they are yet to officially call off the strike action.
Onto this brief, custom officials in Gaoundéré, Adamawa region of Cameroon have seized a huge consignment of tramadol. The seizure happened in the early hours of this Thursday, March 10, 2022, at the customs checkpoint at Wakwa in the outskirts of Gaoundéré town. The operation carried out by the Gaoundéré Mobile Brigade resulted in the seizure of an impressive shipment of 10,000 tablets of tramadol. The shipment was being transported by a bus belonging to Touristic Inter-Urban Transport Agency. A woman is currently receiving treatment or medical attention after having been attacked by vandals in a wine shop at Aqua, a neighborhood in Douala. She was rescued by law enforcement officers yesterday, who succeeded to get hold of one of the alleged thief who got shot in the leg. He will face the hammer of justice after medical attention, as Nora Kakibi tells us.
A middle-aged woman at the Aqua neighborhood in Douala, the economic capital of Cameroon, was rescued from the hands of two hoodlums who attacked her. It was about 10 p.m. yesterday, March 9, when a wine shop owner was about closing her shop and two young men walked in posing as customers who wanted to buy and consume wine. On trying to reach out for their demands, the two alleged criminals attacked her, asking for money while grabbing her bag almost immediately. According to reports gathered, the lady screamed and attracted the attention of elements of the anti-gang unit who happened to be in the building at the time of the robbery attack. One of the alleged thieves, carrying a den gun, exchanged fire with the security elements who were able to stay unharmed and tactful during the incident in the wine shop. One of the men managed to escape. Meanwhile, the other accomplice was unfortunate. He tried to run away too, with the victim's bag, which contained huge sums of money, precisely 2.8 million CFA francs. But he was shot twice in his leg, which rendered him helpless. The wine shop owner, who sustained injuries during the attack, is currently receiving medical care. Meanwhile, the suspect, who received bullet shots on his leg, is also receiving treatment at the Lakentini Hospital in Douala under strict surveillance by the law enforcement officers. He will definitely face the law once he is done with medical treatment and out of the hospital.
The 37th edition of the International Women's Day was celebrated by many as students of the African Institute for Mathematics Science in Limbe joined the world to celebrate the event. Students and workers of this institution, which fights gender-based violence or bias, especially in the field of science, came out in their numbers to commemorate the day. Catherine Okongwe now tells us more.
Students of the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences joined the world on March 8, 2022 to celebrate the 37th edition of the International Women's Day under the theme Equality Between Women and Men Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. The event, which started at about 2 p.m. under the watchful eyes of the Center President, Mama Fumbungani, unfolded with a presentation on the evolution of women's rights. The students, all dressed in purple t-shirts, engaged in the activities to show the fight against gender bias, especially in the field of science. Speaking at the ceremony, the Chief Operating Officer of AIMS Cameroon, Honoré Bernard Lomfonui, noted that gender equality is not only women's issue, but an economic one.
The AIMS, being an institution that respects diversity, inclusiveness and ethics, is always mainstreaming gender, is always trying to meet up with its gender responsibilities. For example, AIM's recruitment for students always make sure at least 1/3 are female. And this year, we had 43% female.
Two guest speakers animated the day. Etombi Ekome Gladys, Member of Parliament for Fako East constituency, took the students through her life strides and challenges in the world of business and politics, and encouraged them to work to the best of their ability to breach the bias still existing in gender.
I told them today as well that in business, it is a matter of moving on. Nothing is easy in itself, but once you are convinced of what you want to do and you are focused, you will achieve it. You might have a lot of challenges. What are challenges? Everyone has challenges in life. The important thing about challenges is that you must know that whatever the challenge, you must move forward. Positively, I mean. And once you have that at the back of your mind, there's nothing that will be too difficult for you to handle.
Brenda Elong, celebrated actress and movie producer, who is also chair of the Cameroon film industry and a seasoned scientist, on her part encouraged the fresh minds to remain focused on their dream and not let anyone derail them from their life goals.
It is very difficult in life to determine what you want to do. As an individual, if you can pinpoint exactly what you want to be in life, what you want to become in life, you are a step ahead of many people. Now all you need to do is to stay focused and don't allow anyone derail you. Put all your energy and focus on that goal, and you're going to make the difference between your dream and your reality.
The celebration, which was spiced with poems, drama and songs, also witnessed a panel discussion on what the future holds for women and how the present affects the future.
The Southwest Regional Assembly, under the general supervision of the President of the Southwest Regional Assembly, Bakoma Zacchaeus, coordinated by the Vice President of the Regional Assembly and President of the House of Chiefs, Chief Atem Ibako, has organized a capacity-building workshop for the 90 elected councillors of the Southwest Regional Assembly at the Grand National Dialogue Hall, Nasla Boya. This was yesterday, Wednesday, March 9, 2022, as Kuma Honore tells us.
Some 90 regional councillors, under the supervision of the President of the Southwest Regional Assembly, Honorable Bakoma Zacchaeus, have undergone a one-day capacity-building workshop to sharpen their skills on issues relating to the preparation and management of budget allocated for the Southwest region to carry out developmental projects. The workshop, which took place at the deliberative chambers of Nasla Boya, had as theme budget and financial management in the Southwest region. This capacity building workshop is one of the projects included in last year's budget, but finally been realized in the current fiscal year. In his keynote address, the President of the Regional Assembly, Honorable Bakoma Zacchaeus, ordered for a minute of silence in honor of state administrators gruesomely murdered at Bikora Barombi village in Ekondotiti subdivision, Dian Division, Southwest region of Cameroon. He thanked the 90 councillors for answering present, an indication that the councillors are determined to see the Southwest Regional Assembly grow strong and tall.
We come from various backgrounds. Some of us have little or no knowledge of the budget of public finances. So we think that this workshop will give a good opportunity for all our colleagues of the deliberative program to be abreast with what it takes to prepare a budget and to execute the budget of the Regional Assembly.
Talking to the press, the coordinator of the workshop, Chief Dr. Atem Ibako, explains the motivation of the capacity building workshop.
Now that process of coming up with a budget is one of the capacities and skills that we want to give to all 90 members of the regional assembly. This is a project that was put in the budget last year, which we are now executing.
The role played by councillors in the execution and management of state budgets and projects assigned to the regions, divisions, and subdivisions cannot be overemphasized.
Today's workshop is very important for a few reasons. It's not about us, it's about the people we represent here. So we are very grateful for NASLA and the Regional Assembly for putting this together.
Several recommendations and resolutions were arrived at for the proper functioning of the different organograms of the Regional Assembly.
Kuma Honore reporting there. This human interest story, a 17-year-old boy has drowned in the Kribi Deep Sea currently while sailing to run errands. The boy is said to have been a lone child to his disabled father. Nolinga completes that story in the following report.
Here lies the mortal remains of a 17-year-old boy who was drowned in the sea in Kribi, Ocean Division of the South Region of Cameroon, after leaving home for a commission on medicinal deals. The boy, who took to the beach during the early hours of Wednesday, March 9th, was only found some 24 hours later on Thursday morning. Upon further research, the boy has been identified to be a student of the Kribi Government High School and an only child to his disabled father, who remains inconsolable since the outbreak of the news. According to sources, the actual cause of his drowning remains unclear, as many attest this is just one of 1,000 victims who hit the waters and never return alive. In this light, the population is ever more urged to remain vigilant, as the high seas seem to be unfriendly to inexperienced divers.
You're welcome back. Now, today is commemorated as World Kidney Day, a global health campaign observed yearly every March 10th. The day seeks to raise awareness of the importance of our kidneys, impacts of kidney diseases and associated complications, as well as ways to help reduce the global health burden borne by kidney-related complications. Bokengo Kimia Worthy has details in the following report.
The kidneys are organs that play vital roles in the smooth running and body function, including regulating blood pressure, balancing the body's fluid, production of red blood cells, removal of waste from the body, promoting strong and healthy bones, and many more. However, poor lifestyle choices such as excessive alcohol intake, smoking, malnutrition, lack of physical exercise, as well as pre-existing health conditions like obesity, diabetes, stroke, high blood pressure, plus natural phenomena like family history and old age can put the kidneys at risk, causing it to fail and malfunction. This is commonly known as renal failure.
Renal failure is a condition in which the kidney is unable to eliminate metabolic waste product from during urine production. There are two types of kidney failure. We have the acute renal failure and the chronic renal failure. Acute renal failure is reversible, while the chronic renal failure is irreversible.
Varying 5 stages, starting from normal function through moderate loss of function to severe and finally kidney failure. The disease possesses signs and symptoms which include fatigue, body weakness, shortness of breath, loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, frequent urination, sleep problems, swollen feet and ankles, blood in urine, amongst others, which can worsen over time if not properly managed, as outlined by Nurse Fabius.
For the management of renal failure, one, you encourage your patient to drink, to take enough fluid so that the kidney may be able to function And then secondly, you inform your patient to take food that contains protein and food that contains calories like carbohydrate. And for more information, you can follow the instruction of your medical personnel.
Following this year's health campaign for World Kidney Day, it is important for health personnel, organizations, and caregivers to bridge the knowledge gap regarding kidney disease and complications by means of increasing talks about the disease, providing quality care and health facilities for sufferers so as to help reduce the 1.4 million kidney deaths yearly.
For our African news, we visited Senegal, Kenya, and Tunisia and put together the following report. The president of Senegal, who is also the current chairman of the African Union, Macky Sall, on Wednesday discussed with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin on phone to seek a lasting ceasefire in Ukraine. It is worth recalling that on February 24th, the African Union issued a statement calling on Russia and other regional or international actors to imperatively respect international law, territorial integration, and national sovereignty of Ukraine. Notes that he had urged Russia and Ukraine for an immediate ceasefire and the opening of negotiations with the help of the UN. Senegal, which has strong relations with Western countries, surprised the international community on March 2 by abstaining in the United Nations General Assembly vote in favor of a resolution that demands that Russia immediately ceases the use of force against Ukraine. Elsewhere, Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has called on the international community to lift sanctions against Zimbabwe, stating that the restrictions are hurting the southern African nation. According to President Kenyatta, the sanctions are illegal. He assured Zimbabwe of Kenya's continued advocacy to ensure that the restrictions are lifted. Uhuru Kenyatta made the statement at the State House during a joint press briefing with the visiting Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa shortly after the two heads of state led their respective delegations during bilateral talks. It is worth mentioning that the two countries signed bilateral agreements which included memoranda of understanding on political and diplomatic consultations, tourism and wildlife conservation, among others. Moving over to Tunisia, the president of Tunisia, Kais Saied, on Wednesday declared war on food speculators amid a shortage of products such as wheat and semolina, key staples in the country, mired in a political economic crisis. Reports say Russia's invasion of Ukraine has threatened supplies of basic foodstuff, particularly wheat, chief import in many Arab countries from the two Western European nations. The Tunisian leader announced that he was launching a relentless war on speculators and criminals, accusing them of seeking to strike at spatial peace and security. President Said had earlier announced that he was working on a legislation introducing prison sentences as a penalty for food speculation and profiteering. It is on that note that we call it quit on today's edition of Prime News, presented by EILEEN. Samad News was produced by Ewane, coordinated by the editor-in-chief, Faith Tata. Thank you very much for viewing, but do stay tuned to more interesting programs on My Music Prime Television. Coming up next is Prime Hour with Leonard and his team. Bye for now.